What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Mark Z Drumcast. My name is Mark Zapata. I am your host, and I am the owner and founder of Mark Z Drums. Thank you for joining me today on this beautiful Wednesday on the East Coast. I come to you today as I prepare for a new project that I am possibly going to be involved in. Always welcoming new projects if I have the time. And this seems like a fun one. I will keep you updated. Stick till the end of the show because I have a major announcement. Something I'm very excited to be sharing with you. But of course, I will tease it till the end of the show. Some insights and some thoughts from yesterday's day of teaching in band direction. We're going to talk about that a little bit. The technical part of today's show is going to be more triplets. Triplet mania, triplet fest, if you will. But we're going to go backwards. We've spoken about 8th note and 16th note triplets. What about bigger triplets? What about longer, more luxurious triplets? Well, we're going to talk about those today. If you've ever wondered what a quarter note triplet is, or a half note triplet is, I've got you covered. We've got you covered, Louie and I, on the Mark Z Drumcast today. So, thank you for joining. Let me pop up the chat to see what's up with everybody. Yo, and there he is. Jerry, welcome. I have super exciting news. I think I might have spoken about this on the other show. Fully hardwired Ethernet throughout my house right now as we speak, which allows me to do so many cool things between my voice studio and my drum studio. Super excited. Everything's just that much faster, that much smoother, that much slicker, except for one thing. The black and blue spaghetti that surrounds me now. Luckily, you can't see it. You can see some of it in the shot right now, but not all of it. As you add more equipment, or I'll just speak for myself, as I'm adding more equipment to the Mark Z Drums studios, the wires are just multiplying, as you can imagine, because for every new piece of equipment, you've got at least power, and then you have at least maybe USB, HDMI, Ethernet, or a combination of those to add with every new piece of equipment. I'm also working on running a separate monitor for my ATEM Mini so that I could see the preview screen on something other than my main monitor, so I could use my main monitor for other things, and I could set up my live stream right here on my iPad. I don't know if you've noticed the addition over the last couple of shows of my iPad there. That's going to be my ATEM Mini Pro ISO monitor. But please, everybody out there listening, manage your cables. Manage your cables. Don't be like me. Don't be like me. Take it from me. Take it from experience. Don't be like me. As we add stuff, it's exciting, and you just want to get it. As a matter of fact, I'm just looking down at something now, which is really inexcusable, but it's working. It's fine. It is where it is because I was so excited to put everything together that I did not bother to kind of route things in the best way possible. It was just like, okay, this will reach. Let's just get it together here, and that's fine. So because I've done it that way, now I'm going to have to take a day, and probably a good day, and now correct everything, which means go in, pull everything apart, reroute everything more efficiently. Yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, that is what it looks like in parts of this studio. But route everything correctly so then it looks super clean, but then also you can identify everything. You don't know how many times that I've been switching cameras in my video switch, and I don't know, and Jerry makes a great point, color coded, and I don't know where each of my cables is going to, what camera is what. Very, very poor job. Maybe a labeler. Yeah, a label making machine might be not a bad idea. A little thing to put labels on. It's very difficult to, unless you know what you're doing, to label cables. Because they're so, listen, they're little thin little things. What are you going to put a label on? So you got to flag them. You got to make little flags. And you got to make the label such that the number or whatever you use, I like to use numbers, the number should appear on both sides of the flag, right? So you got to make the label with enough space between the numbers that when you fold it around the cable and you make that little flag, you can then see the number on both sides. I mean, that's the way I would do it. I mean, not to mention just the drum set itself, right? Just the TD50KV2, that alone, the wiring and most of the cabling is inside the rack, which is very, very cool. But you still need to go from the rack to the brain, and you still need to go from the rack to all the individual drums. All right, so there has to be some rhyme or reason there. But anyway, let's move on from this. Cable management, make sure you take care of your cable management. It will take care of you. All right, so I always like to kind of bring in my experiences, because I'll tell you what, my experiences in teaching teach me so much more a lot of the time than I end up teaching. And just observing, I observe everything. I love to be just kind of aware of what's going on, especially in a band room when we're having a student band rehearsal and things like that. And one of the things that inevitably comes up, especially when you have multiple students in a band, maybe multiple drummers, multiple guitar players, multiple bass players, multiple vocalists, is that you have people that are assigned songs that they don't really like the songs. And this comes up all the time. Luckily, in my other band situations where we have just one set band, and that's how we roll, we can get it's easier to get a consensus of songs because you only have 4 or 5 members of the band. And everybody has their role, right? They're not switching. Occasionally, in that situation, we do switch members because sometimes we have multi-instrumentalists, and it's cool to switch and have, the drummer get up and pick up the bass and the guitar player get behind the drums and things like that. That's always really cool and fun. But that's usually only like one song in the set. So when you have one group of 4 or 5 people, you can get a consensus of what everybody likes. Then we could put it to a vote and things like that. But when you have 10 people in a band, it's a little bit more difficult. It's a little bit more difficult to find songs. So I had the occasion of teaching one of my drum students. And during the lesson, we talked about a song that he had been assigned to play drums on. And the song was chosen because we have a vocalist in the band who's very talented. And, I guess she picked an Alicia Keys song, which is kind of weird. I'm going to have to bring it up because it's actually supposed to be a metal band. This band is supposed to be a metal band. But because of the vocalist we have, we did, or they picked, I did not have anything to do with this. There is a co-director. It's kind of a weird situation. But anyway, I don't want to say too much about it. But there's an Alicia Keys song picked, and the drummer was like pulling his hair out. Like, I can't believe I have to play this song. It's If I Ain't Got You, which is like a slow, bluesy jam, like a slow, smooth kind of jam. And I said to him, I said, listen, we're not always going to be able to play songs that we want to play or that we like to play. But when we're in a band, sometimes we make those sacrifices because we just love to play drums, and it doesn't really matter what song we're going to play. And if it's a couple of songs here and there that you're not thrilled with, whatever, you suck it up, because other people may be playing songs that you suggested that they don't love. So it's just the compromise that we make as a band. But I also pointed out to him, I said, listen, this is something out of your comfort zone. If you're used to playing rock, hard rock, metal, and now you're faced with a song like this is something way out of your comfort zone, and there could be nothing better for you as a player than to play something out of your comfort zone, right? Than to do something you're not used to doing and figuring out how to do it. I said, when you're playing a song like this, the spotlight is on the vocalist. You're there to keep time. You can pop some interesting fills in there every now and again, but it's an opportunity for you to practice dynamics, number one, playing quietly at times, and then maybe just popping out for a fill here and there, where you might bring up the volume. And it teaches us how to be understated as players, because sometimes we need to be. I have other students who are very overt in their playing styles, and they also have to learn how to rein it in, pull it back, slow it down, simplify it, and more fit the music better, right, with your playing style. And that's another thing, out of your comfort zone. Well, I like to play a lot of fast fills. Okay, that's fine, but now you have to refine your fills so that they fit within the amount of time that you have to play them, and that they make sense with the song, and that they work. I had to tell one of my students, it does not sound good when your fills are all over the place just because they're fast, because they're not fitting in the spaces they need to fit in. And then that's also causing you to come back to the beat in not the right place. I said, so besides the fact that it sounds bad, and sometimes, I'm sorry, I hate saying things like that, but it also has to be put out there. I'm the director, I'm the one with the experience, and I need to tell it straight to my students. And so I said, not only does it sound bad, I said, but the rest of the band is now counting on you to know their cues, to know where they are in the song. Now, my thing is, everybody in the band should know the song well enough to not have to depend on anybody else in the band, but we do have cues that help us to locate ourselves in the song, whether it's a fill or a vocal cue or a guitar cue or a certain bass run that happens, and then we know we're ready to change or whatever. That's just the nature of it. And this particular student, very good player, very fast, very passionate, which is another great thing. But when we talk in our lessons, and I talk about this with all of my students, is that listening is a skill that needs to be developed along with all of our other skills in drumming. And not only listening to the song that maybe we are trying to learn, but listening to your bandmates as you're playing the song. There's nothing more important than listening to your bandmates, specifically bass, drummer, be in contact. I make them watch each other. I make them listen to each other as they're running through the song. And then eventually we talk about listening to the other parts of the band as a whole, and how important that is, because we need to know what each other is doing. Especially in a live situation where you're playing a show, somebody goes to the wrong part. If you're listening to that person, they've gone to the wrong part, maybe you follow them. or maybe you cue them and you shake your head no a little bit. You let them know that they've gone to the wrong part. Whatever it is, as long as we're aware of what each other's doing, we can make those adjustments live, and we can cover for each other, and we can help each other. So it really, really, it's always a fun time in band, in student band practice. And so getting back to the one student who's playing the very slow song, we talked about doing something out of your comfort zone. We talked about changing your play style to fit your situation, not overplaying, especially with a very, very vocally focused type of song where the band is just there to support, and we're not there to stand out. We're not there to bring attention to ourselves. We're there to keep everything going tight so that the vocalist can be free to do what they have to do. So it was really cool, really a cool, I guess what they would call a teachable moment. And I think he started to get it. And then as we talked about the different accents and the stops, and how important they were for him on the drums and the bass player to be on the same page with those things, I could tell I started to catch his interest a little bit more. Because I pointed out what a kind of a challenge it was for him to now take this totally different type and style of music and try to adapt his style, try to be more of a chameleon, be like water, as I say. So, like I said, always super fun with my students. And having so many students and having so many different personalities and students of all ages, and all walks of life and all types of people, and it's really super cool, and I learned from all of them. So anyway, we were talking yesterday with some of my students about triplets, and we were talking something that has always kind of gotten me and always been a little confusing for me was the idea of quarter note triplets, and then the idea of half note triplets. Like, what? Okay. Let's get back to the idea of the triplet. What is a triplet? Okay, a triplet is 3 notes that are equally distanced apart. Now, I was talking with somebody about this, and they said a triplet is 3 notes that are equally distanced apart. Right? Well, if you say it just like that, then 1 E and, 2 E and, 3 E and, 4 E and can be considered triplets because those 3 notes are equal distance apart. The non-equal distance is between the 3rd note and the 4th note as we go into the next beat and we go into the next set of 3 notes. A triplet actually is all the notes are equally distanced apart. If you have 2 beats worth of 8th note triplets, the last note of the first triplet and the first note of the next triplet are the same distance as all the other notes apart, right? So you can't have something like 1 E and, 2 E and with a pause after each and, because that would not qualify as a triplet. So it's not just 3 notes equally distanced apart, but it's 3 notes equally distanced apart. And then if you're going from one triplet to the next, the last and the first note have to be the same distance, right? So it's kind of in part of a larger context. So think about it this way. If we have normally 2 8th notes in a beat, 1 and, 2 and, 3 and, 4 and, the 2 notes being the 1 and then the and. In between the 1 and the 2, there's an and. And for the second beat, there's the 2, and in between the 2 and the 3, right in the center, there's an and, right? So we have 2 notes per beat when we're playing 8th notes. The idea of the triplet is simply taking a 3rd 8th note, the same note as the other 2, and putting it in between the 2, or adding it to the 2 8th notes to make it a group of 3 8th notes. So it doesn't really matter where you put it. You can put it at the end. You could put it in between. That's not the point. The point is that now where we used to have 2 notes, we now have 3 notes of the same size, okay? And because of the fact that it's an eighth note triplet, that changes the value of the note from 1/2 a beat to 1/3 of a beat. And so in notation, you might see, or you will see, hopefully, 3 notes together, the same type of notes, 3 notes together, with a bracket connecting them with the number 3 above, which is telling you that these 3 notes are equally distanced, and each of these 3 notes is worth 1/3 of a beat. So in the case of an eighth note triplet, we play 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. Right? All those notes are the same distance apart. In the case of a 16th note, we have 4 16th notes per beat, right? We have 1 E, and then we have and a. So in essence, we have a note occurring at 1/4 of the beat. The 1, the E is a 1/4 of a beat later, the and is a 1/4 of a beat later, and the is a 1/4 of a beat after that. And in that case, we will take another 16th note and insert it with the 2 from the first half of the beat and then the 2 in the second half of the beat. So now instead of 4 notes per beat, we will have 6 notes per beat. And we'll put a triplet on the 1 triplet, and then on the and triplet, which is an easier way to count and remember how to do 16th note triplets. So now we'll have 6 notes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or 1 triplet and triplet, 2 triplet and triplet, 3 triplet and triplet, 4 triplet and triplet, 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. Okay, eighth note triplets, 16th note triplets. So what do we do when we have quarter note triplets? Think about the same train of thought, where we have now 4 quarter notes per measure, 1, 2, 3, 4, each note getting 1 beat. And so we have 4 total notes in 1 measure. So if we take another quarter note and add it to the first 2, beats 1 and 2, and then we add another quarter note to beats 3 and 4. So in the first 2 beats, we have 3 notes instead of 2. And in the second 2 beats, beats 3 and 4, we have 3 notes instead of 2. Me remember and show you guys as well. Okay. And here we go, right? So what we're thinking about is we are taking the 1, 2, 3, and 4, and we're adding a triplet. So if we look at the 3rd line down, this was written out by a friend of mine when we were talking about this. If you look at the 3rd line down, you now have the 8th note triplets we were talking about. The second line down is the 8th note triplets we were talking about. The 3rd line down are the quarter note triplets. Well, we have a triplet on the 1, the let of 1, the second note of the triplet of the second beat, and then again on the 3, the let of 3. So let me try this again. Okay, that's much better, right? And then below that, we have the half note triplets. Now, how many half notes do we have in a measure? We have 2. We have 1 on the 1 that lasts for 2 beats, and then on the 3, we have another half note which lasts for beats 3 and 4. So same concept, we add a 3rd half note to a measure, so now we have 3 half notes in 1 measure. Which once they become triplets, they are worth now 1/3 of a measure, let's say, okay? So that works, and if you see the way it's lined up, that's the easiest way to go, right? So let's say we would play 8th note triplets, but we would rest some of the notes, and we would play on the one, we would play on the second note of the triplet in beat 2, and then we would play on the last note of the third beat triplet. So that would be and so on. As you can see, what did I say earlier on? I said those quarter note triplets get me. But if you know how to kind of use the eighth note triplets as a template to how to play quarter note triplets, and then use those eighth note triplets as a template to learn how to play half note triplets, you can do it, right? So there is the mystery solved. And for me, again, still not super comfortable with the concept, but we are getting there. I have no problem. Just like I said, what you see is what you get here on the Mark Z Drumcast. And listen, if that helped anybody, it certainly helped me to kind of refocus and reclarify what's going on with quarter note triplets and half note triplets. 16th note triplets, 8th note triplets, all really, really cool ways to express a different kind of feel throughout your drumming, whether it be in fills, whether it be in beats, and so on and so forth. What I like to do is just take a 16th note triplet figure and start to expand it around the drum set so that we can come up with different ideas. All right, some of my students lately have been asking me, listen, I feel like I'm playing the same fills all the time. Okay, let's talk about how we construct fills. And a triplet is a great way to start because it's a relatively simple figure. If you get good at your 8th note triplets or your 16th note triplets, it's a good figure to start. It's something we don't have to think very much about. And then we can concentrate more of our energy, more of our hard drive space to moving them around the drums. Just a quick example. One of my favorite ways to mess around with triplets around the drum set is using 2 notes per drum and breaking them down into 2 notes across drums, but still playing the triplet pattern. Sixteenth notes in the 4th beat, 4 triplet and triplet. And again, coming around so that 2 notes land on each tom. I think it's a very cool fill. It's one of my favorite ways to use triplets around the drum set. Heathens by 21 Pilots. There is that fill, and I always like the way that just kind of comes in out of nowhere near the end of the song. It's pretty powerful. It's pretty cool. But again, a very, very simple idea that used in the right way can be very powerful. Just like silence. As we talked about, in a previous show, and I talked to my student about it as well. There are parts in that Alicia Keys song, If I Ain't Got You, where there is just a stop. You know, the bass and the drums just stop for a second, and it creates this moment of tension, like what happened, and then the vocals come back in, the drums and the bass resume, right? So there's that little beat of silence there that is very, very powerful. So silence is very powerful. And then expressing yourself using different types of patterns and feels within your drumming is also very powerful. One last thing from yesterday's day of teaching, before the big announcement, is that I was speaking with another student about a very simple song, simple rock and roll song, and how she needed to play some fills. She wanted to play the whole song through just with the beat, quarter note ride, bass snare on quarter notes. And I said, we have to do some fills, right? So we went over some fills, some simple stuff. Even on the and of 4, Tom hit on the and of 4. Something like that. And again, something simple, but it adds to the song. It brings a little pop of color, let's say, to an otherwise straightforward, pretty simple rock and roll tune, which is nothing wrong with that. But, you know, sometimes we want to pop in a little accent here and there, a little fill here and there, to break it up and to create some interest, right? So that's the show for today. We've run a little over, but I can talk, can't I? I could talk a lot. Big announcement, the 21st of October, my Patreon officially launches. I'm super excited. It's really cool. It's really fun. I think what I've put together is very, very interesting, especially in the beginning stages of building this community that I want to build. A community of people who love drumming and people who love drumming. People that are curious about drumming, people that have been drumming forever, people that have just started drumming, people that think they might want to drum. All of those kind of people, everybody is welcome to this community. And what we will be able to do once I launch my Patreon officially is to join all together on the Discord server. We can talk, we can chat, we can exchange ideas, we can ask questions, we can answer questions. We can share experience and knowledge with one another. We can support each other, and we can be there for one another in this awesome community of drummers and people who love drummers. So thank you very much for watching the show today. I will see you on Friday for a possible prime time episode. I will try to let you know as I get further along in my process, doing a better job of letting you know when the Mark Z Drumcast will be airing. And thank you very much, Jerry. And when the show will be airing next, I will be trying to, let you guys know ahead of time. Because I don't always know, but I'm tightening up the schedule as we speak, and I am working on ways to be able to do that. But thank you so much for joining me here today, and I will catch you on Friday. Mark Z Drums across all platforms. Thank you so much. And don't forget, October 21st, Patreon officially launches for the Mark Z Drumcast, Mark Z Drum Studios, Mark Z Drums, myself. Thank you again. Have a great day. Take care, Jerry.